start off by telling me your first and last name and your title here?
Zachary Renstrom, General Manager of the Washington County Water Conservancy District.
All right, so we've had some really high temperatures recently and low snow. So how's that going to impact water supply for the summer?
So it will have several effects. And so fortunately our reservoirs are at a very good healthy level right now. So for drinking water, we'll have a safe, reliable source of drinking water. The individuals that are going to be hurt this summer will be the farmers. And so the farmers usually take water right out of the river, and we're just going to have a really low snowpack, a really low runoff, and so there just won't be much water for our farmers this year, and so they will fill it.
Tell me more about our reservoirs, like which reservoirs we currently use and their supply.
Yeah, so right now our two key drinking water reservoirs are Quell and Sand Hollow. They're both about 80% full. But our other reservoirs, like Gunlock, which is used solely for irrigation, that's at 100% right now, and a couple of the other small ones. So our reservoir levels are doing pretty good, and we're excited to have those reservoirs doing so well, even considering the very dry conditions.
Got it. And how does this year compare to others with regards to heat this time of year and low snow? Has this happened before?
So in the Mojave Desert, which we're located at in here St. George, either we are in a drought or we're preparing for a drought. And so when we look at years in the past, we've had other years similar to this one where it was so dry. So we are prepared for a very dry year coming up, but this will go down as one of the top driest that we have records for.
And then, let's see, is there any concern then? You mentioned the reservoirs are doing pretty well, farmers are going to be hit. Is there any concern on quantity for drinking water, though, throughout the city?
So all our systems are tied together, and so for within a city, they get most of their drinking water from the district already, and I can assure them that they will have all the drinking water that they need for this coming summer.
Okay, great. And then what about non-drinking water? So we're talking large water users, for example. Do you expect more crackdown on that new policy that just went into effect?
So we have the large water users policy that was adopted, and that's really aimed at new developments and new things that are going on. So if like a data center wants to come into the community, it would have to go through that. The current existing users that are generally larger users, this year they're going to if they get water straight from the river, they're going to have to look at maybe changing some of their policies or practices to limit their water use.
Sorry, could you explain a little bit more of that? Is that just because there's not enough for them to pull, or there'll be more limits on the water they grab?
So how they get water out of the river, it's based on how much water is in the river. And so if the river's really low, then certain people can't pull water out of the river. And so if it's one of those individuals, they're just not the water to pull out of it. Or if it's a canal company, they'll simply get less water to distribute to their users.
And then what about irrigation purposes, like people with watering their yards? Could we expect any new mandates on that or change in limits?
I don't expect any mandates, but we will always talk about water conservations. We'll always encourage people to be good stewards of their water. We'll definitely encourage them to take advantage of the landscape conversion, switching their yard to a desert-friendly landscaping. And so you'll probably hear more messaging about that. And I will say, even if we weren't in a drought, we would be sending that same message of, hey, use water wisely, because if we use it wisely during the wet times, we are able to store that water and carry it over for when we do have droughts.
And then I know there's the new Chief Toker Reservoir that's supposed to open this year. Is there going to be any sort of push to get that finished with what's going on?
There won't be any push because the contractor has certain timelines, and also you never rush the construction of a dam. You always want to make sure it's done safely. And so we do anticipate that coming on in the fall and hopefully start filling in the spring. So we don't rush dam construction, essentially. We make sure it's done right.
Are we seeing more droughts overall, like in recent years?
Yes. I mean, there's no doubt, there's no question that in the western United States it is hotter and drier than it has been. And that's kind of confirmed by a lot of people and a lot of data. And so we, at the district, we model our systems to assume that the climate will continue to be warmer and drier in the future to make sure that we always have water for our citizens to drink.
And then I want to touch a bit more on farmers. You mentioned as a big
Yeah.
group impacted. So they solely rely on the river, you're saying, for water.
Yeah.
Could that change in the future because of this?
We always try to work with the farmers, and so sometimes we supplement the water to the farmers to help them out during certain times of the year, if we have the capacity to do that. Because we love our farmers, they help feed us, and so we'll do everything we can to help them out. But they're used to a lot of, especially the old-time farmers, are used to these drought periods where they'll only irrigate certain fields if they see it's drier that year. And so that's what a lot of our farmers are doing right now is we're working with them, and they simply just won't plant certain fields because they know it's going to be drier. And so the water they do get will just be focused on a smaller geographical area than it would in the past.
What are some of the limits to supplementing water to farmers?
Sometimes it's just simply if the pipes are there that we can pump the water to them, but also we have to make sure that we have drinking water. That's the kind of the first priority for the district, is making sure we have that. And so we just have to be wise with what we're using. And so we can't just give away all our drinking water because we have to keep that.
And then could you explain that distinction again of kind of who you all have covered with the district and then the groups that may not have that same infrastructure to pull from?
Yeah, so the water district's infrastructure was designed for drinking water. And so we've built very large systems to handle drought, to deal with drought, to store water from years to years, where the agriculture system is not connected to our system, and they're used to dealing with just what's there available that they can use, and they don't have those big infrastructure projects to help them in a drought year.
And then I want to clarify one more time then, so you don't expect any sort of changes in like caps or mandates to any individual users or large water users this summer?
For the municipal use, we don't expect any type of caps, shortages, or anything this coming year, but you will hear a lot of messages about just being good stewards of your water.
Will we have enough water as our population continues to grow?
Yes, we will make sure that'll happen. We will never allow our population to outgrow our water supply, because you just can't.
And what kind of assures you that we will not exceed the capacity that we have with our reservoirs?
So one of the things we do is a lot of modeling our system, and we're actually assuming a hotter, drier climate in our models. And it's one of those things we look at every single year to make sure that we're keeping up with growth and everything that's going on. And we look at what we have, and if the system can't handle it, we will build to make sure it will.
Could you foresee our area needing more reservoirs in the future?
100% we will need more reservoirs, and that's one of the reasons why we actually have one under construction. We're hoping to start another reservoir this fall, and we have about two or three others that we're planning to build in the future.
Will those serve different areas, or where will those be placed?
So our system is all connected down here, and so even though it might be built on one area of the county, it will service the whole entire area. They're kind of spread out all over the county, just where economically and engineeringly it makes sense to build them.
Are there any barriers to adding more reservoirs, time, funding?
Funding's probably the biggest one, and of course time is, but we don't want to ever build anything that too soon, or that we don't have funding for. And so basically once all that funding comes in place and we get all the permits, we'll construct more reservoirs.
Are we seeing more droughts than we have in the past? Is this just a new reality?
I am of the opinion this is going to be a little bit more of a new reality. Here at the district, we are assuming a hotter and drier climate moving forward. I think that's what you should do to be prepared. I mean, if it happens to get wetter, great, we'll have more water, but if it is hotter and drier, we will be prepared down here.